Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening, everybody. This is Journey with the Gibsons. I'm Dr. Gino Gibson.
I am Shakitha Gibson, and we welcome you
and
to our Fall in Love series. Fall in Love series, where we are doing a 4-part series about falling in love with yourself, falling in love with your spouse, falling in love with sex, and falling in love with wealth. But today is part one, where we're talking about falling in love with yourself.
Falling in love with yourself. Well, we have a few keys about falling. Before we do that, follow us on everything that we're doing. Go ahead and give them all of the information, babe.
So, of course, you can find us on YouTube at Journey with the Gibsons. You can also find us on lovely Facebook, Journey with the Gibsons, and you can find us on Instagram, Journey with the Gibsons. Our name is the same on every place, so that should make it easy, right?
Very easy to check us out. We are excited about sharing with you this Falling in Love series. And again, as my beautiful wife said tonight, is falling in love with yourself. I think we have about 4 or 5 keys that we believe, five keys that are important about falling in love with yourself. The first one is you must be honest with yourself. You must be honest with yourself. Tell them about it, babe.
So, it's about telling the truth about who you really are.
Right.
I guess once you figure out who you are, then, it's easy to lie to yourself. It's easy to tell yourself that you are able to do many, many things that you are not able to do. So, in honesty with yourself and falling in love with yourself, we're talking about being honest about your limitations, being honest about your giftings, being honest about your callings, and even in a spiritual sense.
Right.
But being honest about your purpose in life. And if you are going or veering in a way that's not true to you, you probably need to let it go, because that probably speaks to some of the unhappiness that you could find.
One of the things that you have to be able to tell yourself is the difference between what is called oughtness and isness. Oughtness is what it should be, and isness what it do be, right?
What it is.
What it is, right? So many times we act like our is our ought, and sometimes we don't want to correct ourselves or become better. So you start falling in love with yourself when you love yourself enough to tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth and say, look, this is what I'm and this is what I ought be, and now I can begin to do that.
And once you're honest with yourself and you begin to walk in that, that's how you fall in love with it. You become comfortable with, again, who you are, and then no one can tell you anything about yourself at that point, because you know who you is.
And we say it all the time, self-work increases self-worth.
Absolutely.
Right, so when you first begin to tell yourself the truth about your oughtness and isness, you'll start falling in love with yourself. I think so.
Absolutely. The second one is self-reflection.
I love this one.
So, No, you do take this one.
Self-reflection.
I love it.
When we think about self-reflection, we think about a mirror, looking at yourself in the mirror. Amazing thing is the mirror is absolute. It basically shows exactly what it sees. But another version than a mirror, of course, now is the world of selfies. So what we would say is, since you're telling yourself the truth now, take a life snapshot of yourself. And find out, when you take your life snapshot, you're telling yourself the truth already, then talk about, what do I want to do? What are my aspirations? What are my goals? Where do I fall short? And how can I deal with that in several areas? Spiritually, for those of you that are spiritual, socially, do I really need these friends? I need a new circle?
Cut them off, honey. Listen, when you talk about all the time clearing out you should go on your phone and take out some contacts, people that you don't talk to, people you don't talk to, people that don't support you, that aren't showing love to you. Cut them.
Right. In fact, Van Moody in the book People Factor says, don't be alarmed, don't be surprised. All relationships either add to you or take away.
Exactly.
They're not neutral. So in your self-reflective state, you're able to check those things out and figure out what's adding to you, what's taken away from you, that you might be able to become a better person and love yourself more.
Yeah, and think about, it's really good, babe. I'm sorry, I got to jump in. It's really good because think about how the people in your life make you feel about yourself.
Right.
Have you ever been in relationship with someone or in friendship, in amicable relationship with someone, and every time you're around them, you feel drained, or they're negative, or they say shady stuff about you, but they're supposed to be your friend, and it eventually makes you feel that way about yourself. So you're not loving on yourself because you're not surrounded by people that show you love.
And flip the coin. There are other people though that pour into you. There are people you just like to hang with, and they don't have to be romantic relationships. They're just people that when you're around them, it's a breath of fresh air. They build you up, and when you do a self-reflection, you look around your life and notice all of those things. Because you're trying to fall in love with you better, so you have to get any negative things away from you.
And care about you enough and love you enough to let those people go. Right. It's about you and your space. And you find that as you grow older, I know I have, as I've grown older, it's some people that just can't come in my space anymore. I'm old enough, honey. I'm old enough to be like, you know what, I ain't got to do that today.
I'm grown,
I don't have to do you today. I'm grown. Like real grown. So I ain't got to do all that. All right, number three in the journey of loving yourself is forgiveness.
Wow.
Forgiveness. And this one's big for me because I recently thought about this. And literally, this is a little bit for the ladies, but you know, sometimes we walk past the mirror and go, oh, I love her. You know, you checking yourself out and kind of feeling yourself. And then I was like, do I really love the whole me?
Wow.
Do I really love all of me? And what I meant to myself by that is, if I think about my past, do I love her too?
Wow.
Or did I just forget about her?
Right.
Did I put her to the side? So all of the mistakes that I've made, and we've all made them, all of the bad choices that I've made, I have to love that part of me too, because it's a part of my journey, and it still got me to where I am today. And so it's forgiveness, forgiving yourself for the past things that you've done, the past mistakes you've made, and knowing that it's made you this amazing woman or man today, and being able to walk forward and loving your whole self. But you got to take the time, maybe in therapy, or speaking to someone and saying, man, I messed that up, but it's okay. It's okay.
A very good friend of mine, William Marcus Small, Dr. William Marcus Small, so I called him one time just, guilt-ridden about some mistakes. And he said, who do you think you are that you don't make mistakes? Who do you think you are? I mean, and it was a powerful thing, because you have to be able to get past mistakes and forgive yourselves. That relationship you should have stayed in longer and you broke up, forgive yourself for it. The relationship that you stayed in too long and finally, forgive yourself for it.
We beat ourselves up for that.
Because guilt is like an acid; it eats its container, and you want to make sure you're not your biggest enemy. Lance Watson says you don't want the enemy to be enemy, right? You don't want it to be inside you. And if you are beating yourself up sometimes, now we blame other people and say they do it, but sometimes it's us that do it. So you got to make sure you forgive yourself. That is a wonderful one, man. That's great.
All right, you take the next one. Become your own cheerleader. Be a fan of you.
You have to become your own cheerleader. First of all, you're already honest with yourself. You're doing self-reflection, and you have forgiven yourself. Now you have to be your own cheerleader. Be your own. Be a fan of me. A fan of yourself. How do you do that? Well, when you're a fan of a sports team, you root for them. You want them to be successful. You want them to win. You want them to trade the players in and out that they need to trade in and out, become the best team. As a result, be a fan of yourself. You're your number one agent. Make sure that you're a fan of yourself. Now, I'm not talking about to the point where you're overbearing. No, you're cheering for you, though. When you leave that day, look in the mirror and say, we're going to have a great day. And no one can stop me from my contract with me. Right?
Absolutely. And make no apologies
for it.
Make no apologies for fanning yourself, for being your own cheerleader. Because if no one else does it, you should do it. You should do it. And again, it helps you become comfortable with who you are, looking in that mirror and knowing who you are, and give or take, whatever it is, you
right.
fall in love with it, because it is, you get one life, right?
Right.
We get one body,
right.
we get one,
right.
we may have moles and dimples and
right.
whatever it is, it makes you uniquely you.
Right.
And so you should fall in love with that and pump it up every day.
Don't wait for someone else to cheer you on.
Absolutely.
Cheer yourself on. You should always have if you're still alive, you have a fan club.
Mm-hmm.
You are the president of it, and you want to make sure that you're rooting for yourself and that you're making things happen. I think that's falling in love with yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Come on, you take us home.
Last one. Present your best self to the world.
Wow.
So in that, we're talking about walk in your authenticity. Be your authentic self and walk boldly in it. Hold your head high. Know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. For those of you who are Christians like us, follow that. But know that you are the bomb for the rest of y'all.
right.
You just dope, right?
And
so once you spend time figuring out or going through the self-reflection and going through the forgiveness and going through all of that, now it's time to walk in your greatness.
Right.
It's time to walk in your greatness and present yourself with your head held high. Be the very best version of you that you can muster, that you can find.
Right.
And then present that to everyone you come in contact with.
Right. Howard Thurman says you are the only you that's ever been made.
And a good one.
Right. You're the only you that's ever been made. Your essence is the only essence that God ever made to exist like you. Yeah. Which means do not try to be a cheap copy of somebody else.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just be you. You are good enough. Just go ahead and be you. Now, I mean, nobody can beat you being you.
Yeah.
So you're number one in that. Even if you have on a losing streak right now, you're number one at being you.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and win all day at that. Win all day. Like you said, it's dope.
Love it.
It's dopeness all the way.
We love it. So absolutely. Babe, you want to go? Let's do a recap. Recap.
Falling in love with yourself. Number one, you have to be honest with yourself. Number two, you have to do self-reflection. Number three, you have to forgive yourself and not carry all of that stuff around. Then you have to become your own cheerleader, your own fan, and finally present your best self to the world. Walk in your authentic self, and it will be more than amazing. More than amazing.
Yo, do us a favor in the comments. Tell us how you spend time loving on yourself.
Right.
What are some of the things that you like to do that gives yourself that boost of energy and love? And if you're working on loving yourself more, what are some of the steps you're going to take?
Right.
So as we talked about those 5 things, how are you going to be honest with yourself? How are you going to spend time doing self-reflection? What do you need to forgive?
Right.
Which is a big one. I walk past that mirror like, what about the little girl?
Right.
What about the teenager? What about the 20-year-old that was, having a baby? Just
that was big.
It was huge. Make sure you love everything about yourself. So yes, share in the comments how you're gonna do it. Again, we are doing a 4-part series, Journey with the Gibsons, and we're talking about falling in love with yourself today. Coming up with your spouse.
Yeah. Then falling in love with sex.
It's coming up. That's going to be juicy, y'all. Lord Jesus. And falling in love with wealth. Falling in love with wealth.
Yeah.
We are so excited to be with you. Make sure you share.
Please let people know.
Share. Hit the share button. Tell a friend to join in. And make sure you subscribe and follow the pages so you never miss a time when we go live. We don't want you to miss an episode. Make sure you join us next week as well for falling in love with your spouse.
I kind of love you, girl.
I kind of love you too.
Listen, we're Journey with the Gibsons. I'm Dr. Gino Gibson.
I am Shakitha Gibson.
We love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And always, we speak life.
Life.
Peace.
Peace.